What is Sketch? Either you clicked on this video because you remember Sketch whenever you were young, back in like 2014 or something, I don't know, and you heard it mentioned and you all of a sudden started remembering that, yeah, where did Sketch go? Or you have no idea what I'm talking about and you just want to listen to something in the background while you draw, which could be true on both ends, but regardless, you're getting what you came for. Also, please ignore my raspy voice. I'm a little bit under the weather at the current moment. But if you are looking for a video that you can just listen to in the background while you do anything like art or writing or maybe homework, then this is the perfect video because I'm mostly just doing kind of a podcast thing with speed paints in the background. So Sketch was a art app back in like 2015-ish. I usually used it around the time of 2017 to 2018, and which it shut down in 2019, I believe. I would also like to say that there is like little to no information of this app. It's like lost media at this point, because I could not find anything. So a lot of this is going to be mostly experienced and opinion-based over actual facts and knowledge, aside from telling you, where it went. But getting back onto track, Sketch was a app back in like 2015-ish to 2019 that pretty much was like an online immersive version of most other art apps. Sketch allowed you to use bases, trace, or sometimes collaborate on art, which is one of the things that people loved the most about it, I believe. That's what I loved as well, because it gave me an opportunity to be able to learn how to draw with other people's skills. However, with these things, it does come at a cost, as you may expect. People did use it for things like tracing or stealing people's artwork. But that is to be expected from pretty much any app in general, especially when it comes to anything that includes art. Now, when I first heard about the app's closure, I had assumed that it may have something to do with that. Now, it could, but from what I've researched, I'm not so sure that that's the main reason. It's actually a little more boring than that, but it probably does have to do with that as well. People may have been leaving the app due to having their artwork stolen. They lost money from it. They couldn't keep up with it. And in general, their entire audience just started kind of moving on to different apps like Ibis Paint or Procreate or Clip Studio and that kind of thing. One of my favorite things to do on the app was to look at other people's artwork, and I don't want to say fix it, but I like to redraw it in my style. Of course, I was young. I was like 11 or 12 years old at the time, so there was no ill intention in anything that I or anyone else did. Most everyone that used that app was around my age. They were usually around the age of like 8 to 14 at most. I remember creating my very first persona on that app. You may understand. Yeah, she was a gray and blue wolf. It didn't help that I named her Shadow Wolf. It's not my proudest moment, but she's still technically a big part of my beginning of life. One of the things that I remember from this app that was very consistent with it were these collaborative bases that people were to duet almost with their own personal OC onto it, and it would keep going and keep going and keep going onto like this multiple pathway. I also really enjoyed collaborating on these things, but of course I was young and didn't like my art very much, so it didn't happen very often. But I do remember that there was a following count as well on this app, where people could follow you and see your artwork specifically on the ones that you post. I believe you could post them and make some of them private, but I could be wrong. There is a chance that they had all of them public whenever you drew it, which I think would be very concerning if they did that, but I don't think that's how they did it. This app was my very first introduction to digital art in my life. So a lot of the skills that I have today were somewhat developed from this. And one of the things that actually confusingly did help was tracing people's artwork. Of course, I didn't claim it was mine, I think. I was a kid, so you can't really say anything. I mean, I know now that it would be a bad thing to claim it being mine, but tracing as a child someone else's artwork, it really helped build anatomy and figuring out how things work together, because as a child's mind, we learned from seeing other people do things, and it same thing applies for this. Now, what Sketch had compared to every other art app that exists today, I think is very unique and could be done again, but in a better way. In a way that would stop people from stealing art as much, but also give them the opportunity to collaborate on art. Because I think that the way that they did that was very interesting, and it really made every other art app just be distinguished. It stuck out like a sore thumb. It was so interesting to me. I saw so many other apps, and I could not get my hands off of this one. So after it shut down, I was heartbroken. And so was so many other people, because their art was gone and they have to suddenly retry on something completely different and new that they don't know. Now, this is where you probably are wanting to know the title of the video. What happened and why did it shut down? This part is going to be where the actual facts will come into play, and it's not just my memory. I'm going to be doing a little more research than I did before and really try to dig deep into this. So, in the 2010s is whenever Sketch was first introduced. It was supposed to be a simple little doodle app where, it was beginners and it wasn't super anything fancy. Pretty much they didn't really want any, big flashy colors and pins and all that kind of stuff. They didn't really want any advanced features. The first version had about 16 colors and a fixed set about 40 stickers. There was no layers, there was no text, and there was no online features. There was actually multiple times where Sketch was almost deleted. But every time they just kept pushing through. They were actually really dedicated to Sketch's future potential. They wanted features like animation tools, and as we all know, the community feature. But this was the first version, and it wasn't all that popular or updated. You could actually buy stickers. I think I actually remember that. I couldn't, of course, buy any because I had no money. It was a child. But there could have also been a possibility that with the community feature, if you got enough likes on your posts, it would give you income. But I'm not fully sure. Not actual money, just, money to spend on stickers in the shop. One of the things that really got them out there was the fact that if they were to have a collaboration, the other person that they would draw would have to have the app as well. And with all that work, it was released onto Google Play. And the app received a lot of feedback. It was amazing. People really loved it. But to Sketch, the most insane thing was that there was actual art. It was everywhere. People were actually really determined to make things look good, which was really surprising to them because they really just intended this app to be, a doodle app. But instead of doing that, people were spending hours on end working on this, and everyone just loved it. At the end of 2015, they launched the final version of the community, at least the most prominent version. As you'd expect, the community was very, very small at first. But it kept growing every year, more and more. It got bigger. More people were discovering this app's potential. And they really started to just embrace it and try and make it better for everyone. But contradicting, it was actually biggest that it ever was when it was about to end. And 2018, at the very end of the year, Sony decided they were going to let go of Sketch. They decided that Sketch was just not their priority and they wanted to focus on other things. Everyone was announced of the shutdown in 2019. Everyone was heartbroken and just so sad, as you'd expect, because all their artwork was in that app and they didn't really have much of a way to get it back if they were young, because young people back in the day did not know how to operate technology. They tried to buy out the app and continue it outside of Sony. They got close, but inevitably they failed. The announcement of the app's closure actually brought more people. They kept coming. During the summer of 2019, the activity increased by a large portion. In the final months, the app saw more than 1 million drawings shared each week. Not months, not years, weeks. And then, there goes the new beginning. A few weeks after the shutdown of Sketch, the new owners launched the very first but functioning version of Sketch United website. A completely different app on a completely different level. Just a couple months, they released versions for Android and iOS. Of course, they were still missing a bunch of very important features, but with the support of everyone and all the doodlers and artists, they did their best to continue the Sketch tradition in the 2020s. And with that, Sketchers United was born. And it's actually still available today. It's still in its early releases, so it's probably not going to be, super updated. They're planning to try and get updates up every month. They're trying to, understandable if it doesn't happen, but the best part is that you could still get this app. It's probably in your app store. They have for both Android and iOS. I actually looked and I have it on here too. I'm thinking maybe I might try it out to see how it is. Cause it's been literally probably over a decade since I've actually used the app. So it's gonna be really fun to see how it is now after all those years. Of course, it won't be the same. It's a completely different app, just inspired by the original one, but with the same amazing community as it had before. It's a really bright idea and a bright future. So I recommend that you definitely try and check out this app and tell me in the comments if you liked it. I know I will. Thank you all so very much for watching this video. I actually really enjoyed it. Very nostalgic. Shout out to my one and only Patreon right now. Hopefully there will be more in the future. Definitely consider trying to become part of my Patreon. It's only $1 a month for just the supporting and the shout out feature, which you'll be on the video. The more the support, the more highlighted your name will be. Please give me some suggestions in the comment section of what I should do next. See you in the next video. Bye everyone!